Rolling Stones, you know that means the flagship is on. The flagship show up. Unlock the middle. Josh Tobat, Pro Principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA. Ready to learn, ready to take in that knowledge from other contributors from around the United States so that we're ready tomorrow on a marvelous Monday to greet our Jaguars, our Bears, our Scorpions, whatever they might be, but meeting them with a beautiful, great smile on our behalf and also engaging them bell to bell, making sure they're focused and happy being in our home. So it doesn't matter where you're at, whether you're in Alaska, whether you're in Hawaii, whether you're in Maine, whether you're in Florida, or anywhere in the 48 in the middle. Welcome to the show. If you're seeing this on the rebroadcast, please make sure you like it and share it because these tools are open for everybody. What do you think about that, Dean?
I think your animation gets better every time we come on the air. Josh, you're on fire. I do practice that in front of the mirror because you got that down to a science, my friend.
Yeah, when they're cutting my hair and I'm going bald, trying to cover up the gray, I practice it.
I'm sure that you do, man. Hey, Sunday nights are all about getting better together. Iron sharpens iron, as Josh always says. And it's an opportunity for us to reach out across the country and find an individual that we just want to share the stories that they have to make everybody a little bit better. My name is Dean Packard. I am the proud principal of Charlton Middle School in Charlton, Massachusetts, and one of the co-founders of Unlock the Middle. And it's always great, Josh, to have you by my side. And we talk about Chris sometimes, and we're going to get Chris back in the game a little bit. He's still navigating with his family, and I love that. We always say family first. And his kids are at that age, and it's so important to be there. So we haven't forgotten about you, Chris. If you're watching, we know you'll be back soon. So all is good there. So again, Sunday nights, man, we're excited to get going. And Josh, I'm coming back. We're coming off of vacation. School starts tomorrow. That's always fun for kids. I put out a little video earlier today talking about that transition, and you know how that is. There's always the unexpected that happens when kids come back after a week off, and that reconnectivity with the learning. And it's always interesting what happens. Don't you agree?
In big time, and that's where we, being the role models, need to be on fire. Because you know what, they got the sluggish. They're kids. We were kids, so it's our job to show them the energy, the welcoming, and always saying, "Hey, I missed you. I missed you, son. I missed you. Where have you been?" And connecting with them, finding out, asking, spend those extra 4 or 5 minutes at the beginning to talk about everybody, making sure, "Hey, what did you do? What did you do? What can you share with the class?" That way you engage them and it allows a positive climate in the classroom. So I agree with you, Dean. Every time we come back, it's about what tone that we set as the adults in the classroom to ensure that the kids feel warm, welcome, because you know what? Many times some of those classrooms are the best safe zone for them because of some of the obstacles that they face.
Absolutely. And sometimes we can always say that's the only hot meal they get for the day sometimes as well. So we have to make sure that we take that into consideration. And more importantly, the power of hello, the power of welcome back, the power of, hey, listen, it's great to see you. I missed you. That stuff there goes so far in the world of education for kids. So, hey, Sunday night, let's kick it into high gear. We got Elijah in the back room right now. They don't want to hear us talk. Let's bring him in for a moment. Hold on. And Elijah, welcome to Unlock the Middle. It's great to see you. Great to have you here. How are you, my friend?
Hey, Dean. What's up, Josh? How are you guys doing today?
We're doing fantastic. We're traveled. Where are you? You're in New Mexico, right?
New Mexico. Yes, sir.
New Mexico. So, Josh, this is the first person. No, we've had another one from New Mexico. I remember. Okay, so we're really digging into that state right now, which is great. But Elijah, welcome to the show. We've done our research on you. You've what we look at is your contributions to education and what you've done. Your story is fantastic. So why don't you give the audience a little bit of background about you and how you get into the field of education, so they can get a little bit of a scope and sequence of Elijah's world.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here, and I appreciate this opportunity to connect with more educators. Appreciate it. Let's get into it. Like Dean said, I'm Elijah. I am a teacher from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Born and raised in New Mexico. Love it here, land of enchantment, as we call it. Although, as we were sharing before we jumped on here, the winds are not so enchanting right now. It was pretty sketchy. In fact, my wasn't sure if I was going to be able to jump on earlier today because my Wi-Fi was super spotty, but glad to be here. And so I, like I said, born and raised here in New Mexico. I come from a family of six kids in that family, all six homeschooled by my mom. My mom was a special education teacher for 7 years. And then her and my dad had their first child, my oldest brother. And with that, my mom, left the classroom and decided, hey, I want to stay and, be with my children, during this time. And not sure if she was going to go back, and then decided when it was time for my oldest to start school, she said, you know what, I can do this. I'm a teacher. And so she went at it, and, it felt like it was something that she was called to do. And so my first time, believe it or not, first time stepping foot into a public school classroom was my first day of student teaching when I was however old I was at that time, 20 something, really young. So it was my first time stepping foot into a public school classroom, meeting Miss Adrienne Jaramillo there in Belen, New Mexico. And I would say the rest, as they say, is history, but there's a lot that's happened along the way, that I don't want to leave out. It's been quite a journey. It was definitely a learning curve for me, not having any kind of public education background really to lean on or to draw from. It was really just, I became kind of like a fly on the wall for a minute, just watching everybody and taking in what everyone was doing, just trying to learn. And so my learning has, my own professional development has come quite a ways from when I first started. I've been one of those who's had to like kind of find their own professional development at times. And then, other times it's been, hey, this opportunity has come up. You might want to jump on it, Elijah. It's a great opportunity for you. So, in as many ways possible, I've, just learned from, my own experiences, mistakes, lessons, mentor educators. My wife, Tracy, is also an educator. She's an art educator here in Albuquerque. And so she's one of my close mentors that I lean on, and so it definitely, I can't say the rest, as they say, is history, because I'm here because of all the things in between that and all the people that, have supported me along my journey, and who have been there when I've messed up and said, hey, that's okay, let's try it again. And, tomorrow's a new day. And then they've been there for the successful moments as well. So it's been quite a journey. I wrote about it, not entirely focused on the journey itself, but a lot of my journey is written in my book that I released with the help of EduMatch Publishing back in October. The book is called A Place They Love. And so I wrote all about some of those lessons learned, and, have all these little bits of knowledge that I drop throughout the book, little nuggets of wisdom here and there, and just tips and tricks so that we can do what we can to make school an enjoyable place, a fun place, an exciting place. A place, really, like the book says, a place that they love.
So Elijah, that's awesome, and I know we're gonna get deep into the beautiful book of yours. We'll get into that right now, but let me ask you a question. Right now, who has inspired you as an educator? Who is your role model?
Oh, there's a lot that come to mind, but the first person that popped in and the person that keeps popping back into my mind is my wife, Tracy. So my wife, before she was my wife, we worked at the same school. And that's how we met. Was I was the fourth grade teacher and she was the art teacher. We were at another district here in another city here in New Mexico. And, over time, we, hung out as all the single teachers, would go to events together, like football games. It was just like a big group of single teachers, like, hey, let's all go hang out and maybe we have lunch after or whatever. And so, we became friends through those things, and just through these meaningful conversations at school as well. And then, of course, over time, one thing leads to another, and hey, I kind of like you, and I kind of like you, and fast forward, from, I think that was, we started dating around 2000, end of 2019. We're married now. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary on February 2nd. And so, but that's, so it sounds like I'm a little biased, but she really was like the mentor that I really needed. I had a mentor, my first couple of years who met with me and we focused on some specific things. We picked like writing. I remember we were talking about writing. And so I wanted to improve in the area of teaching writing. And then when I moved to this new district, I had another mentor assigned to me because of their district policies and all that. And so because I had another mentor, we focused on things like, I think it was like classroom engagement. But then, on the side here, I'm running into the art teacher, having these little conversations in the hallway, and I think it's Brian Aspinall who said, sometimes the best professional development is the teacher down the hall. And so I'm, just gaining all this knowledge. We're at the same school, so we, share a lot of things, struggles. We talk about our own, the students we share, and things like that. And we're just bouncing ideas off of each other, like educators do. As I'm sure you have experienced, as I'm sure our listeners, today can relate to. Just that mentor that you don't really. It's not like they're an official mentor, but it's the mentor that you ended up needing. And so my time together, during that 3 years, before we became a thing and all that, we were just mentors and friends and all that. I really saw myself blossoming as a teacher during that time. But she's also someone I bring her up because she's someone that I can go to, not just as a mentor, but someone that she can rely on as well. And so we're good for each other in that way, in that if I'm struggling and I need support, I can lean on her. But at the same time, she's poured enough into me that I can give back to her in those times as well. So when you ask about my mentor, my role model when it comes to education, the first person I always think about is my wife, Tracy.
Nice. Now let's take that one step further. Now we're talking about your book. Who or what inspired you to go down that trail to write the book? Because that always has some meaning behind it. So I'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, so I attended a teaching conference back in 2019 called the Teach Better Conference, and the Teach Better is a whole network. If those listening haven't connected with Teach Better, I encourage you to check them out on their social media sites, the website, everything. They're going to have another conference they just announced in this coming fall. So, but I went to this conference, and one of the big things that I kept hearing was like, stay true to yourself, like, honor who you are. And like, if you have an idea, put it out there. And so I didn't have a book idea. I was going there to learn. I wasn't on the brink of like, I've got this idea. It was just like, that motivated me at that conference to like start reflecting on my own practice, and really encouraged me to start looking at what I do and kind of documenting it in some way so I could go back and reflect on that, if that makes sense. So I started blogging. I just, I learned this lesson in school today, or this went well today at school, or I had this idea, and I would just blog it short. I remember I would say, this is about a 3-minute read. So there wasn't long reflections. It was just, hey, this is just something I learned and I'm just jotting it down. And over time, I started looking back on them and reading through old ones and kind of connecting the dots and saying, hey, there's a theme here. There's a theme of let's make school a place that kids love to be at. And so I went to my mentor, right? And, and I asked, went to my best friend, my partner and all that. And I said, hey, I'm noticing a theme here, but is that a book idea? Is that not a book idea? Like, what do you think? And she really pushed me to try for it. She said, go for it. If nothing else, she said, you can say you tried. She said, if no one else reads it, I will. And I thought, well, I got at least one reader. So I guess there we go. So, started putting, kind of arranging these blog posts into chapters and editing a little bit more, and went through the process of putting stuff together so that it was almost fully complete by the time I went to the publisher. Once I did that, the rest is history from there. But there was a lot of encouragement along the way, though. It wasn't just that moment with Tracy. There was, moments of my family telling me how proud they were that I was even writing a book before it had published. There were the teachers that I worked with that were, hey, we're excited for you, we're proud of you, all that. So there was a lot of encouragement that came from the folks in my corner when it came to getting the book going. But that's where it started. It started as just reflections on what I was learning and what I was, how I was growing as an educator. And I wanted to share that because I felt if it was helping me, maybe it could help somebody else. And so that's where it kind of started.
Nice.
So Elijah, right now, for example, I have 2 openings haven't filled. I still have 2. All the year is almost done, and I still have 2 vacancies. And there are people that are getting hired right now, left and right. One of the most crucial things, like Dean and I talked about before you came on, was about having that positive relationship with the kids. Dean and I are those are the things that we really push in this podcast. So what does it look like to have a positive teacher-student relationship there, not only in the classroom, but within your campus, your home? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I can answer the first part there with your classroom, based on my former experience and the experience I have now. I'm not a classroom teacher anymore. I'm a reading interventionist now. So I work with groups of students from other classrooms throughout different parts of the day. But I still get the chance to push into those other classrooms. So I get a chance to work with those 4 or 5 students that I pool later on. But during my time in the classroom, I also get a chance to interact with the teacher. I get a chance to interact with the other students who might need additional help. And so, the relationship building doesn't stop with your own kids. I just want to make that, start off by saying that, the relationships it's not just my classroom. Like, yes, we get it. That's your classroom. We understand that. But, these students here on campus, you're still a teacher on campus. You may not be their teacher, but you are still a teacher. You can teach those students. You can direct, make an impact in those students' lives and connect with them, even if they're not your own students. So I would start with that. But I think everything else starts with the students, though. When I'm planning a lesson, it starts here with, how is this going to directly impact the students? So I think we have to be student minded. We really have to be student minded. But, relationship building isn't just academics either. I think about, there's in my book, I get to talk a lot about relationship building and just things that I've done and things that I found to build relationships within the classroom, but there's also things to do outside of the classroom. And so some of my things that I love to encourage, I got to encourage my school that I work at, and some other teachers recently. I got to encourage them to go eat lunch with your students. And eat lunch with your students, not because they earned it, because that's how I used to do it. It was like, oh, you've been such a great student all year or all week or whatever. Now you get to have lunch with the teacher. And it's like it was a reward for them. And so I flipped it and was like, you know what? Why don't I do this? Because it's good for me. Like, it's good for me to have lunch with you because now I get to know you better and you get to know me better. And so I started doing things like that. Like, okay, that's no longer a reward. It's going to be a norm. So I would pick, 2 or 3 days a week. I'd pop into the cafeteria and just sit with a different group each time. And, just little things like that. Playing with kids at recess, because at recess, if I have a chance to get outside, I'm going to be playing with kids that, in grades that I don't service. I'm going to be interacting with kids from classrooms that, I don't work with directly. So I'm building connections here with these kids so that when they see me walking down the hall later and I say, hey there, they know who I am. Oh, hey, it's Mr. C. Yeah, we played basketball with him earlier. Or we played Foursquare the other day. Oh, yeah, he came and had lunch with us. So building relationships goes beyond just the 4 walls of our classroom and the the academics of it. Yes, we can build it within that, obviously through classroom discussions and things like that. But it goes beyond that. We need to think beyond that, that our work isn't done within our 4 walls, right? It's done throughout the whole school.
I'm going to tap into something here, and it's not a question that we've preloaded for you. You said you're a reading interventionist, so I love
Mhm.
that. So I'm gonna go on a limb and say you're probably a tier 2 interventionist. Am I correct by saying that? So you tiered your students MTSS, looking at them, have a
So
system in place.
MTSS, yeah, so MTSS, I would be servicing tier 3 students in this
Tier
case.
3. So would you be
Just
servicing students on an IEP on the grid, or would you be the Orton Gillingham or Wilson reading or things of that nature?
we
Deep for
Yeah,
advanced.
so the curriculum we use is called Foundations.
Yep.
It's a systematic and evidence based,
Yep.
very explicit phonics program. We love it. All of our teachers, including our interventionists, are getting letters trained, and so we're really diving into the science of reading
Love it.
with that as well. So yeah, we love it, but we're not servicing kids who have IEPs.
Okay. It's interesting how some districts write those and how the IEPs are written. In some schools, a reading specialist will do it. In some schools, the special education teacher will do it. So again, it all depends on how it's written on the grid. But nevertheless, that's a digression from the story that we're on right now. So talk about what meaningful and reflective student engagement looks like between teacher and student, just from your lens.
Oh, student and teacher engagement. Okay, so I've got a story for that one. So I was teaching fourth grade, and it must have I don't know exactly, but when I replay it in my mind and when I think back on it, I was like, yes, it was. There was a lot going on. I don't know if all of this was going on, but I know for sure we had just come back from spring break. State testing had just started, and there was a full moon. And I don't know what else, but that was enough for me. And the other teachers just go, this is a lot for a Monday. And so by the end of the day, we were just, we had my kids had tested on one portion of the state test. The rest of the day was kind of normal. But it was like, I remember just being like, man, this was like herding cats today. Like it was a rough day in fourth grade land. And so, the teachers and I at the end of the day were talking, and it was the same thing. Oh yeah, my kids are this, my kids are that, my kids aren't engaged, and all this stuff. And excuse me, my alarm is going off there. Excuse me. But at that point when I'm starting to join in, I had this moment of like, was it that they weren't engaged, or were you not engaged? And so I thought, okay, let me play back what I'm saying here. And I'm starting to go through it. I'm like, I'm just going through excuses. I'm just making excuses. Oh, the weather was bad, full moon, day after spring, and I'm just coming up with all the excuses except for, what about you, Elijah? And so I had to really sit back and look at that and say, was my lesson engaging enough so that it brought another level of engagement? And I had to look at it and say, you know what? My kids were engaged. They were engaged the whole time. It was just that my lesson only allowed them to be engaged at a certain level, and I didn't amp it up enough myself. So a lot of times when we look at students and we say, oh, they're not engaged, maybe they are engaged, but maybe what we're planning for is a lower level of engagement. And we need to maybe sit down and collaborate with some other of our, right, get the PD from the teacher next door or whoever, and do some reflection and plan for something a little bit that allows for higher levels of engagement. So I go back and I realized, yes, it was me. Like I had everything was planned, it went well, but it didn't go well, so I need to make it go better. And so I had this lesson planned for a reteach. I was doing some test prep and reteaching and stuff like that. And I looked over the questions in the book and I thought, man, I got to make this better, like, because this is not going to invite them to engage on another level. And so what I had done previously was I had laid out tapes or strips of tape in 1 yard increments across the floor, white tape, so it looked like a football field. And what I would do is have the kids push all the furniture to the side, and then they'd line up on opposite ends, wearing the old PE jerseys, right? The reversible ones and all that. One side's green, the other side's yellow. I'm in a referee uniform. But what I did was I took those questions and just put them into a simple slideshow and then projected it. But then we were answering questions, playing this game of football. You want to get a first down? You want to move to the next line? You got to answer the question correctly. Okay, how are we going to answer the question correctly? Oh, well, I can show my work on my whiteboard, or I can grab these manipulatives, or me and my partner can work together. And so it really heightened the level of engagement within the students because I was engaged as well. I had planned for higher engagement this time, and I myself was engaged. I wasn't sitting behind the computer, just click next question, click next question. You know, like I said, I had the referee. I looked like a referee. I had the full referee uniform on, black pants, like black shoes. Like I was legit. And so I was on the field, like, you know, making stuff up. Like, you know, kids would throw out a question and I'd be like, hold on, I need to go review it, and like check in with another student after review on the play. You know, after reviewing the play, the student is correct, you know, all this stuff, like just getting really into it and selling it to them. But like, it goes back to what I was saying. They were super engaged. The behaviors, there were no behaviors that day. Like, we had an awesome day. It was like much easier to keep them focused because I had upped the engagement. I invited them to engage on a higher level. And so I think as teachers, something I've learned is that as a teacher, I need to plan for those higher levels of engagement. If I look back at the end of that and those students go, man, that was boring, I'm like, well, it's not that they weren't engaged. They were. I just need to try something a little bit different. So it's a piece. So it also helps me reflect as well.
I love that you get out of your comfort zone, though, because again, you're looking at different methodologies to making kids connect. And sometimes teachers, and I've seen it, and I've been in the business a long time, they're a little hesitant to go away from something that they know works somewhat for them. And what they don't know is what they don't know when it comes to opportunities to, yes, after reviewing the play, I can see that that student was correct with his assumption on this whole question. Think about that for a second and how that could just gain up that, if you know, that mojo in a student. That's so cool.
Right. And I do want to say it is scary though. Stepping out of your
Of
comfort
course.
zone, I will say this is super scary. So I am that dress up kind of guy. Like, I will dress up in a costume and go to work all the time. Like,
You're a conductor. You're a facilitator. You kidding
my
with me?
my
I love it.
classroom is branded as the pirate ship. My kids call it the pirate ship, and everything in there is pirate themed. There's like, our flexible seating is a pirate boat, like all this stuff, right? And so I dress up as a pirate captain on the first day of school. Like, you know, I've been an astronaut. I've been John Lennon, you know, with the long wig and everything and the round glasses. And so I love dressing up. It freaks me out every time. Like, it does. Like, I have no problem getting dressed, getting in the car, but the second I get to school and I got to step out, walk through the front office, I'm like, oh buddy, everybody's got to see me dressed like this today. And this is how I like so there's a funny story about me having to stop and get gas. This dressed full pirate costume, like hat, boots, eyeliner, the whole thing, like just pumping gas. But it's like, that's the reality of it. And sometimes that can be a freaky, you know, and doing something like this is real, you know, stepping out of your comfort zone, even if it's not dressing up, just trying something different is freaky. And I want teachers to hear that it's okay that it's going to be scary. It's okay that it's going to be a little bit scary and that you're going to be nervous. Like, yes, people are going to be looking at you, but the kids are going to be looking at you even more. And that's who you're doing it for. And so I keep that in the back of my mind, that like, I'm not dressing up for adults. I'm dressing up for kids. Like, I'm not bringing my guitar to play for any adult or teacher here. I'm bringing my guitar to play for students, or I set up this game for the students. I didn't set it up for me. Like, you know, and so that's a little bit of with that. Yeah.
I think Dave Burgess would be a little jealous right there. Look at you go, man. That's Dave in a nutshell. I love it.
I owe a lot to him. He's one of Dave is, you know, he's the OG pirate. You know what I mean? He's the OG captain for sure. And so I owe a lot to Dave Burgess. He's influenced me a lot.
It's all good stuff, man. And the kids benefit, and that's all that matters. That's connectivity 101.
Right.
Hey, Elijah, before we go into the next question I have for you, right now with your new role, how do you create that engagement? Because you know what, you have the students that are tier 3, bottom of the pyramid, have different learning obstacles in life. How do you engage the kids right now with using something other than the traditional method?
Oh yeah. So engagement within the Title I reading program, that's been an adventure for me. There's been a because so I started this journey as a Title I reading interventionist last year in November. And so I was at a teaching third grade, and then this position opened up, and it was time for me to try something new, and so I took this position, and so I felt like I spent the first year just trying to find my feet, learning the program, learning strategies, going through the science of reading, and so now I feel like okay, I've got not the best grip on it. I'm not the best reading interventionist there is, but I've got a firm grip. I can stand on my own now. And so now is when I get to have fun and start kind of planning different stuff. So I've done things like, just different games with phonics, just mixing it up. So it's not quite the same routine. Here's the letter, here's the sound card, here's this. We mix it up a lot of times by playing games. There's one in particular that the kids like where this group of students is working on the difference between short vowel E, so that's eh, and short vowel I, I. They mix them up. They mix the sounds up. And so what I do is I use these cards. I'll have like a P and an N, and then I'll get the blank vowel card and stick it there, right? And then they don't know what the vowel is, and then we'll play like it's kind of like Family Feud, that Family Feud game where you have to first person to tap the buzzer. So it's like stuff like that, like like who can answer this quick, who can answer this quickest. We play games like that. We do a lot of just different types of gamification. But also I help spark engagement in students also through behavior games. And I know, like, let me explain what this one is about. So we play this game, and it's just simply called the good behavior game. We have a respect agreement that the kids and I make at the beginning of the year. Of this is how the students get to tell me this is how we want to treat each other, and we expect to treat each other. This is how we expect you to treat us. And then I get a chance to say this is how I expect you to treat me. And then collectively we get to say this is how we expect each other to treat the classroom environment. And so we also play this game when I'm teaching called the good behavior game. And I'm specifically looking for behaviors that they are following that are on the respect agreement. Oh, you were awesome at, being respectful. You encouraged your classmates. That's something we said on the respect agreement here. And so, or sometimes if they're not doing those things, oh, we interrupted, we're going to get a check. We're going to get a little warning, and it helps refocus them. It's not a big drawn out thing. It's not, hey, be quiet. You're interrupting. That's rude. That's it. It's just hey, remember we said on the respect agreement, no interrupting, and then right back to teaching. And so it's this simple game of 7 minutes. Let's see how well we can do for 7 minutes. Something like that, really heightens the engagement because now they know, hey, if we do well enough with this game, they don't get prizes, they get pirate treasure. Because it's the pirate classroom. So I have a pirate chest with, goods, candies, fidgets, toys, like things that are, that kids are into and stuff like that. Or sometimes we play a game if they do super well enough. It's like, let's play a game of skee ball. I've got a small table skee ball game. Let's play a game of skee ball. Let's play a game of trash ball where we're throwing, wadded up papers into the bucket, stuff like that to really heighten the levels of engagement, but also promote things like positive behavior, self-regulation. Because again, I'm not telling the kids, I'm not in their face if they break the respect agreement. And they correct me on it too. It's also a time for them to say, hey, Mr. C, you said this is what you were going to do. But it's not, it gives them a chance to self-regulate, which I think is a big part of engagement as well. As kids need to know how to self-regulate their behavior and know when that stop and go is. You know what I mean?
I also like the sensory movement of all that stuff. Kids can't sit forever. So you've got to be
No.
able to get them up and get them moving in that classroom. A 40-minute, 45-minute, 60-minute block's a long time just to sit there.
Well, and I learned, most of my gen ed teaching experiences was 3rd and 4th grade. And so when I started working with grades kinder and first, it was a whole new game. It was like, these kids scared me. And, I had to learn to, okay, these kids need more movement breaks. That was the big thing I learned with first grade was that behavior game of 7 minutes. Nope, we're playing it for 3 minutes instead, and we're giving you a reward every single time. So one of the things first grade loved was the bubble party. I have a bubble gun, and if they win their game after 3 minutes, they get a quick, I spray bubbles in there, and they have to pop them all. But then it's a quick, okay, back to your seats, and they're back to it. So we're practicing that self-regulation. We're promoting positive behavior and positive engagement.
So Elijah, when you talk about you better or shut up and teach mindset in the classroom, what does that mean?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. So let me talk about the shut up and teach mindset. Because that's kind of plastered all over my social media. You'll see for those that follow me. It's one of my hashtags I use. I have a podcast called Shut Up and Teach. There's a chapter in my book called Shut Up and Teach. In fact, when I was writing the book, a lot of people asked me, is that the title of your book? Is this a Shut Up and Teach book? And I said, no, it's a place they love. That's just a small part of it. So Shut Up and Teach is a mindset, and it's a mindset that encourages teachers in 2 areas. So the first side of the coin, when you flip that Shut Up and Teach coin and you grab that first side, it's going to tell you to leave negativity, bad attitudes, complaining, any kind of negativity that is going to bring down the positive atmosphere in your classroom or at your school. It's time to leave that behind. I'm very open with my students. I'm not very open, but I am open, and I've told kids before, I have depression, I have anxiety, I'm in counseling just like you, and it's given me a lot of opportunities to connect with students and console students who are having things like panic attacks or just anxious moments, and these feeling these big emotions that kids feel sometimes. And so by being open with them, it's allowed me to do that, but I'm not spilling all the details of this is what's going through my mind. It's not I'm depressed and this is what's really going through my mind, or I went to counseling and this is what I shared with my counselor. I'm not spilling all that. I don't need to spill all that because it does nothing to promote positivity in the classroom. Like, it does nothing at that moment, to uplift the mood and to keep the spirits alive. And so, yes, I talk to my kids. I'm in counseling, and counseling helps. I take medication and do these things, and you should do whatever your doctor and your family tells you to do, and be mindful of that. But I don't spill all the details, and I don't expect them to spill it all either, because there's some things that are meant to be kept private. And so Shut Up and Teach is a call to, you don't need to be spilling all the details about your life to your kids. Every trouble and trial that you're going through doesn't need to be broadcasted as you walk into school. Now, I want to say this, I am not negating any of those problems. I'm not downplaying them. Like I said, I've got depression and anxiety, but I'm in counseling for that, right? I take medication for that. I have a self-care routine that I follow, and so I'm not downplaying any of those problems that you may be feeling. Some of them are very, very, very real. But I do want us to know that it's important for us to leave those at the door. When we get to school, we got to be 100% for our students, and maybe our 100% isn't what it was yesterday because life is kicking our butt today. But however much I can give today, I'm going to give today to my kids. And so Shut Up and Teach, that first side of the coin, is really about leaving the negativity behind, leaving it in the car, leave it at the house, really, if you can. I encourage people to drive to school with a positive mindset, get in the right mindset. But the other side of that coin, if you flipped it and you've landed on the other side, it would be a call to shut up and teach beyond what we thought was best practice. Shut up and teach what we know is best practices. So if I'm doing the same thing year after year after year after year after year, is that going to be effective? Well, in some cases, maybe, right? It might land on some good soil, but our kids are changing, right? Our kids are changing, and the way they learn is changing. It's changed so much. I think, definitely since the pandemic has hit, I think things have changed a lot. and the way that teachers are giving their lessons using a lot of different technology and apps and things like that. It's really creative and it's really evolved since the pandemic has hit. So just think about that short time of how much the world has changed. But why hasn't our teaching changed? Why are we still handing out a worksheet? Why are we still expecting to, we're going to read from the text, answer the questions, and expect everything to go perfect? Like, that just doesn't work today. Our kids have changed so much because society and technology has changed so much. And so when I say to shut up and teach, it's often a call. When I say it to myself, Elijah, it's shut up and teach beyond what you did last year. Last year was great for last year, but there's something better this year. Shut up and teach, Elijah, more than just a worksheet. When I was a classroom teacher, I did a lot of science labs, but in an elementary setting, I had to go to the lab and set it up myself, and which required extra prep. Sometimes that shut up and teach voice came to me like this: Elijah, yes, you're going to have to get to school today about 10 to 15 minutes earlier to set up this science lab for your students later on, but it's going to be worth it. So shut up and teach. It's not about toxic positivity. It's not about like work yourself into an early grade for your students. That's not what it's about at all. It's not about like, hey, ignore all your problems and pretend everything is great. But it is a call to leave behind our negativity and our problems at the door so we can be 100% for our kids. So that's where shut up and teach comes from. In the book, I also talk about having a better mindset, and that really comes from the Teach Better family. I give a story, of course, about ways that I've made things better over the years, that I don't settle for just, I did it this way last year, and so when it was effective, so I'm going to do it the same way. I'm always looking to be better. Even if something worked, I'm looking to see how I can make it better. And so having that better mindset really has helped me in times of failure, and it's helped me work with kids in their time of failure of, hey, we just work to be better tomorrow. Tomorrow is a new day, and tomorrow we're going to be better than we were. Tomorrow will be better than we were today. And so having that mindset doesn't ignore we messed up or we failed at something, but it just allows me to say, hey, we failed at this, so tomorrow we get to try again and make it better. So I think having that mindset of just striving to be better, not perfect, but better, right? Because perfection is unattainable, right? No one is ever going to be perfect, but striving to be better, that might look different every single day. And so every single day I can be better in one way or another. It might not look big to some, but to me, I'll know, that I was better today than I was yesterday.
And I like the adage, failing forward. It's okay to do something that you don't think is going to have that connection right out of the gate, but recognize the fact that you tried to better your connection with kids as a result of this. Who wins then? Who wins? You built, your capacity gets built, okay? And kids have a better option than doing traditional stand in front of classroom learning, where we know that the pieces of learning have changed exponentially. Mm-hmm. And I find that it's a fascinating conversation to have with educators. And I'm thinking, because I put out my weekly e-news tonight, and I think the title is going to be Change. Where are you on this? Where are you on the spectrum of change to meet kids where they are? And again, just very short, just be reflective on this. Tell me what you're doing differently. Are you still using your worksheets? What are you doing that are making kids look at what those standards are and actually get their own access point in? That is so different, because we know kids come to us at many different points of their learning. We know it. So if we deprive them of the opportunity to get in where they feel most comfortable, then guess what? We've lost an opportunity. Think about that for a second. Man,
right.
You got so many good things. I mean, you threw a lot of nuggets out here, and I love them because I'm a connoisseur of just good teaching practices, and you just got it. You got it wrapped up in a bag right here. So let's talk about that book 1 second here. Where can people get this book? Do you have it with you, the cover? Do you have one with you?
I have a copy sitting right over here. Let me grab that for a second.
Yeah, please do. I want you to hold that up. Gonna sing for us, Josh, while he does that?
Okay.
You don't want that.
I'm back. I have a copy here.
There it is. There it is. Now, where can people get it? And what I'm going to ask you to do is make sure you send me a picture of that. if you would, afterwards, a DM, and so I can get this back out on this, and we'll put that information in there as well. But where can people find this book?
Yeah, so the title is A Place They Love, and it's available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes and Noble, and I am published through EduMatch Publishing. So you can also purchase through EduMatch Publishing website. If you're interested, if anyone listening here is interested in getting a signed copy, you can reach out to me, and I can work that out to where we can, you can pay to get an actual signed copy from me. If you're interested in doing a book study with your school, EduMatch does a discount for bundles. So if anyone here is thinking about, hey, we're looking at PD around the corner and we'd love to do a book study, this I would recommend my book here. It's a fantastic one, I think. But if anyone is interested and needs more information, they can reach out to me, and I'd be happy to help out.
Elijah, absolutely love it, man. I'm proud of you. I don't even know you that well, but I'm proud of you because what you're doing is you're creating ripples in the big body of water called the educational pool. And that in itself will help somebody out there become just a little bit better. Josh, what do you think of all this?
It's awesome things. You know what, Elijah? It's just somehow we gravitated. We found each other, and now he's here because that's what we bring to the table. Unlock the Middle, that what you and Chris created is one of those things about connecting with kids. Because you know what? They're not going to content with us if we don't connect with them. So it's crucial that we always find that avenue, that pathway to merge everybody together in one collective heartbeat, just like that's in his book, a big heartbeat. And that's the way that the school will move ahead. And so we want to thank you. Thank you very much, Elisha, for being here tonight. But you know what, Dean? This Tuesday, office hours open at what time, Dean?
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
A 20-minute problem-solving session with administrators from around the United States, a real-world situation that you faced, that we faced before in that chair that we sit in. So join us for office hours. It's only 20 minutes, no more than 20 minutes. We get out, and we find how we solve that issue. So thank you very much, Elijah, for being here, and we hope to see everybody for office hours this Tuesday.
Elijah, thank you so much for being here tonight. Josh, as always, your commentary is off the charts. Your enthusiasm, you just brought it all together. So again, Elijah, we wish you the very best of luck. Continue doing what you're doing. You're going to make somebody better. You're great for your kids. I want you in my school working with my neediest kids, because I'll tell you what, that pirate suit and those methodologies, get out of his way. You're going to see some growth. Forget about testing. You're going to see growth in those kids. And that's all that matters. Confidence will go through the roof. Hey guys, have a great week. We absolutely love that you've been with us tonight. Elijah, be well. Josh, my friend, be well. Until next week, until we see each other again.